Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Shin-Yena, and I'm delighted to be your session host this morning. In Plenary Session 1, we will hear from 12 keynote speakers about vision for cyberspace. And now let us begin Plenary Session 1 of the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace 2013. All of the speakers of this session are given 7 to 8 minutes for the presentation, and we cordially ask you to keep that time. First, I am honored to introduce to you His Excellency Erkki Sakari Tumoja, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Please join me in welcoming him with a warm round of applause.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, information technology, the internet and social media have created a cyberspace world which opens up huge opportunities for individuals, civil society, business and governments. However, cyberspace can also be harnessed to serve negative purposes. Examples of this, cyber attacks, hacking and phishing, are daily in the news. Unauthorized surveillance on the internet and other telecommunications for security purposes has highlighted the question of the right to privacy. At the same time, freedom in the online world is under pressure with attempts to control and limit online communication. Freedom of speech and expression should be respected equally in cyberspace and offline. In the cybersecurity strategy of the European Union, published earlier this year, many of these aspects are addressed and principles and actions are outlined. Both the opportunities available as well as the vulnerability of our societies and of the interconnected world have increased in a striking manner. Cybersecurity has become more and more an important issue also as part of security policy. These concerns cannot be addressed adequately except through broad multilateral cooperation. In the recent UN Group of Government Experts report, importance is given to the work of regional security organizations, such as the Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe and the ASEAN Regional Forum, in developing confidence-building measures for cyberspace. We in Finland consider multi-stakeholder cooperation as vital both at the international and national level. And this was also emphasized in our national cybersecurity strategy, which was approved earlier this year. Today, cyber attacks are being used as means of warfare, involving politically motivated attacks on information and information systems. This raises the question of the applicability of international law. In our opinion, the customary international law, treaty obligations regulating states' behavior in times of peace and war, and international humanitarian law also do apply in cyberspace. The issue of governance of cyberspace has grown globally. At the same time, recent discussions about the need to prevent unauthorized surveillance has given added impetus for this. We must, however, be sensitive to the possibility that the need to improve regulation of cyberspace may also be misused for restricting freedom on the internet. The internet is a network of millions of networks that cannot be governed in any traditional sense. We see that the internet has to be governed and challenges need to be tackled in an open and deep multi-stakeholder cooperation involving governments, international organizations, civil society, and the private sector. We appreciate the discussions held in the Internet Governance Forum as an inclusive multi-stakeholder setting on the broad range of Internet's public policy issues. All human rights apply equally offline and online, and they must be systematically mainstreamed into the discussion and decisions taken on Internet governance. The right to freedom of expression is guaranteed in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and in international and regional human rights instruments. Any restrictions must comply with the rule of law and should never be discriminatory in their nature. Responsible use of human rights presupposes that human rights of others are also respected. For example, hate speech online is no more acceptable than it is in printed media. Governmental measures should never undermine the realization of anyone's human rights. We should not tolerate a situation where every user of public email services has to take into account that all of his or her net use data and messages can be stored and opened by someone somewhere. The right to privacy is a fundamental human right recognized in international and regional treaties. Existing international human rights instruments provide adequate protection of private life also when using modern technologies. But there are gaps in their implementation, and different treaty bodies and other mechanisms for monitoring implementation of these treaties should be better utilized. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Ms. Navi Pillai, recently stated, quote, that surveillance without adequate safeguards to protect the right to privacy actually risk impacting negatively on the enjoyment of human rights and fundamental freedoms. The key issues related to the organization of surveillance activities are: 1, compliance with the principles of democracy; 2, transparency and respect for the rule of law; 3, respect for human rights, notably the right to privacy; 4, the right to access to information as well as the right to freedom of expression; and 5, free use of the Internet in conditions governed by new technology. Our duty as governments is to put in place sufficient legislation regulating surveillance and to clearly define those most exceptional circumstances under which surveillance can lawfully and always under independent judicial supervision occur. Ladies and gentlemen, in my vision for cyberspace, there continues to be one single Internet comparable to other global commons, which is accessible to all people in all corners of the world, where users feel secure and their fundamental rights such as freedom of expression and privacy are respected. The Internet as a global platform has become essential for economic growth and innovation. But at the same time, the digital divide has become one of the most important divides in the world, and therefore accessibility and affordability of the Internet, as well as the human capacities of developing countries on harnessing the benefits of the Internet, must be prioritized. Thank you for your attention. Kamsa hamnida.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Erkki Sakari Tumoja, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Finland. Ladies and gentlemen, the next speaker will be His Excellency Raden Mohammad Mardi Mulyana Natalegawa, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellencies, dear friends, Indonesia believes that our aim here today must be in contributing to the shaping of the global architecture on cyberspace. A global architecture that is secure and reliable, that is inclusive and equitable as well. One that enables a platform of coexistence between the offline and the online worlds, and one which provides solutions for the challenges of our time. The impact of the cyber world on every aspect of human life has been enormous. While the cyberspace provides convenience to our life, it also comes with its own challenges. Indeed, we are confronted by paradoxes. It provides vast opportunities for all nations, yet its power can magnify shocks in the global economy. It can facilitate political, security, economic, and social cooperation between nations, yet in the wrong hands, it can be an instrument of crimes and discord. Our task would appear to be crystal clear: to maximize the opportunities and to minimize the challenges. We must utilize cyber technology as a tool that increases human accomplishment, that contributes to productivity, economic growth, jobs creation, and poverty alleviation, that enables people's democratic participation and the exercise of their rights, that compels every government around the world to be more transparent and to be more accountable, and that serves as an effective media to nurture tolerance and to respect diversity. At the same time, we must manage it so that it does not widen the gap between the haves and the have-nots, nor to become a tool of transnational crime, a medium for spreading hatred, violence, and extremism. Excellencies, dear friends, by nature, the cyberspace is transnational and transboundary. There is therefore no alternative than to forge a meaningful international collaboration, to form a global partnership on cyberspace. And let me share with you some of Indonesia's thoughts in this regard. First, we believe that we must see to it that cyberspace unites, not divides, the world community. We must prevent the cyberspace from becoming a battlefield of nations. We must therefore ensure that trust and confidence permeate the cyberspace. Second, we must ensure that cyber technology contributes to mutual progress, peace, and prosperity among nations. We need to establish a global arrangement through which the cyberspace contributes to addressing the challenges of our time, such as poverty, climate change, armed conflicts, corruption, and natural disasters. We must therefore develop and promote cyberspace principles and norms that will support and sustain development, that will bring common progress instead of marginalization of world citizens, that will promote democracy and tolerance instead of extremism and hatred, and that will strengthen cooperation and collaboration instead of confrontation and rivalry. In this regard, Indonesia strongly believes that such norms and principles must be developed by utilizing the United Nations. Third, there is an urgent need to bridge the digital divide. This must be done across the board, between nations and within nations, between the developed economies and the developing world, between the haves and the have-nots within each country, and between urban and rural areas. We therefore believe that as part of the global partnership on cyberspace, the international community must support such efforts to enhance the capacity of the developing world in bridging the digital divide. Fourth and finally, nations must come together to wage a robust, a concerted, and an effective battle against cybercrime. And for such an international effort to succeed, a strong foundation at the national level must first be established. It is also important to underline here that fighting cybercrime is a shared responsibility, not only for governments, but also for the private sectors, for civil society and other stakeholders. I'm therefore pleased to note that this present conference brings together governments, private sectors, and the civil society. In a similar effort to promote multi-stakeholder partnership on the issue of cyberspace, Indonesia has taken the theme of building bridges, enhancing multi-stakeholder cooperation for growth and sustainable development for the 8th meeting of the International Governance Forum that Indonesia will host in Bali this coming 22nd to 25th October 2013. Dear friends and colleagues, the cyberspace provides common benefits and common challenges for all humankind. Its benefits can only be enjoyed at the most optimum level when all people across the world have equitable access to it, as this will unleash the force of productivity and the force of creativity. Its challenges can only be addressed effectively when all people around the world come together and address it, to make it their shared responsibility to have a secure and reliable cyberspace. Either way, a global partnership is a must. A partnership that will ensure our success in addressing the challenge of cyberspace, that will optimize its potential to enhance the quality of life of all humankind, and that will guarantee the cyberspace become a positive force for mutual progress, for mutual security, and mutual prosperity. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Raden Muhammad Mardi Mulyana Natalegawa, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Indonesia. The next speaker will be His Excellency Choi Moon-gi, Minister of Science, ICT, and Future Planning of Korea. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this historic event. It is indeed tremendous honor and pleasure to host such distinguished guests from across the world to discuss future cyberspace. These days, we live and work not only in physical space of our homes and offices, but also in expansive cyberspace that brings together the whole world, connecting us at any time and any place. Even as we gather together here for Cyberspace Conference in Seoul, Korea, the government delegations from more than 90 countries that have joined us continue to communicate with their countries and each other in cyberspace through the internet. The significance of internet revolution that has opened the new horizon of cyberspace for us can be compared to agricultural and industrial revolutions in terms of its impact on human civilization. Not only has the internet revolution transformed whole sectors of society, remaking politics, economics, and cultural activity, it has altered our very thinking and nature of human relations. Ladies and gentlemen, I dare say that the growth of cyberspace can be translated directly into prosperity for all human society. But let me be clear on this point. As has always been the case with technological revolutions throughout human history, we face a series of daunting challenges that must be answered. Internet addiction, cyber attacks, and cybercrimes are some of serious side effects of this historic shift in our society. The sheer scale and scope of the problems is natural product of tremendous potential that cyberspace offers us. The response cannot be simply that of individual or single community, but must rather be concerted effort of international community. It is critical that we minimize such adverse effects if we wish to achieve that dream of realizing genuine prosperity through our shared cyberspace. So, what is the first step if we sincerely desire true prosperity for humanity, born of growth of cyberspace? I would suggest key lies with basic respect for our fellow people. The world around us is changing rapidly in response to constant technological and socio-economic developments. And in the midst of the swirl of changes, we find that the one most affected by them and also responsible for them is mankind. The cyberspace we will build must ultimately be about people, and every person should have right to enjoy freedom and equality in cyberspace. Those people should take the leading role in leading cyberspace. To put it another way, we need to create cyberspace wherein people can affirm common values and pursue together happiness. In other words, just as in physical world, we must cherish cyberspace that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. To create such a cyberspace, first and foremost, we need to educate ourselves and become cyber literate. Cyber literacy is the capacity to make rational and critical judgment, connecting the nature of cyberspace while practicing digital humanism and maintaining empathy for our fellow men. Only then can we create a new order for cyber era that parallels our offline world. We are encountering many conflicts of interest and tensions in cyber today. Cyberspace has witnessed hatred and violence that is carried out in a more extreme form than we find in real world, and terrible acts are carried on in this new space in complete anonymity. We should not take those matters lightly. We must focus our attention on fostering an environment, community in cyberspace wherein everyone participating adheres to sound rules for ethics and manners, just as the case in real world. Secondly, we need to create a cyberspace that is founded on principle of equal opportunity, a place wherein everyone can share equally the benefit of this new land, regardless of income level, age, gender, or religion. Every individual should be given that right to realize his or her dreams in cyberspace. We need to establish cyberspace as a place where everyone can reach his or her full potential and be truly creative. Finally, we need to equip ourselves with best security systems to assure that cyberspace remains in a secure place where anyone can freely enjoy their cyber activities. As we humans depend on more and more on cyberspace, cyberspace will become more and more a ripe target for cyber attacks and security invasions. The convergence of imagination and creativity with advanced technology is the key to the future in Korea and the world. And ICT will serve as the engine that will drive industry. If we can bring together imagination of individuals with appropriate technologies, we can raise living standards and generate new jobs. At the same time, Korean government is committed to these global efforts to create cyberspace in which all the people of the world can enjoy prosperity and peace. To this end, Korea established in 2006 the Asian and Pacific Training Center for Information and Communication Technology that will nurture ICT experts for Asia-Pacific region. We are planning a global cybersecurity development center next year in cooperation with international agencies such as World Bank, governments, companies, and academia. We believe that these centers for excellence will contribute, especially for developing countries, to creating a more secure cyberspace. In conclusion, I hope Seoul Cyberspace Conference will serve as a unique opportunity to share and exchange information and opinions. On behalf of Korean government, I give you our promise that Korea's commitment to global cooperation in the aim of continually improving and developing cyberspace is unwavering. Thank you for your attending the Cyberspace Conference.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Choi Moon-gi, Minister of Science, ICT, and Future Planning of Korea. The next speaker will be His Excellency Michał Boni, Minister of Administration and Digitization of Poland. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, firstly, I would like to thank you for having the opportunity to address you on this important topic, the vision of cyberspace, open and secure. Let me share with you Polish experience in the area of digital development. The Internet is now the basis for the development of the digital economy. But honestly speaking, it is much more for the development of the whole economy and modern world. Could we start the global debate on the shared economy opportunities as a new possible development paradigm without the digital revolution? It took 75 years to connect 50 million people by the phone, but only 4 years via the Internet. And more recently, 50 million people have downloaded the application Angry Bird Space in just 35 days. Only in 1 minute, we are sending nearly 200 million emails. We can only try to keep up with other duties that are the responsibility of governments in the interests of citizens. Having said that, if we want to describe open and secure cyberspace, we need to consider 4 key words: privacy, trust, freedom, and security. We can observe a new phenomenon. The new understanding of the privacy is growing as fast as the meaning of the big data is developing and creating the added value to the economy. Development of the digital society radically changed the way in which citizens share with others their personal data. More and more often, we pass our personal data to various companies, providing information that can then be used, for example, for profiling. Also, very willingly, we disclose information about ourselves and others on the Internet, forgetting that once placed in the network, data can be easily copied an unlimited number of times. This knowledge is a powerful tool and more valuable in the era of Internet. Misused or used for a not well considered idea, it can become its destruction. The importance of personal data was noticed by entrepreneurs. Some of them operating in the area of marketing try to get as much information about consumers as possible in order to prepare better offers for potential customers. Already for many companies, data processing is the core business. And very often we need the personalization of services as clients, as citizens. We need the processing data as the governments when we want to offer our citizens much more adjusted, personalized services. Development of data processing is crucial for future competitive advantages. Can we imagine future effective public policies without the possibility of data processing? All it means that personal data has become an online currency used to pay for services. So on the one hand, we should remember about citizens' needs and rights. Privacy protection is the fundamental right. But on the other, we should take into account business and state expectations and opportunities. The only way is to reconcile those perspectives. We can sometimes differ for cultural reasons in understanding of the importance of the protection of privacy and personal data. But despite these cultural differences, we should have one common goal: raising awareness and knowledge about the fact that our identity on the network is not detached from that in the real world. A higher level of protection of personal data in the Internet means a higher confidence of citizens in the digital environment. Trust is building up laboriously from the ground up. This is a very difficult process, but doable. However, a small spark can destroy the work. We can still observe that the revelations disclosed by whistleblowers on the one hand support the awareness growth, but on the other undermine the trust. Therefore, it is important to make transparency of our actions. Trust is a basic for shared economy model. So if you want to develop, we have to build many forms of trust. One of them is connected with open data access and open sources using for creativity. It is crucial for governments to share the public data with citizens and enterprises and allow them for reusing also in commercial purposes. We need all over the world open our data, make full and global access to cultural heritage, create the background for participatory democracy, because it responds for citizens' expectations to have open government. What about freedom? Freedom is substantial for the idea of the Internet. It gives the access to many new goods and to the knowledge. It gives opportunities for new social activities. It creates freedom of expressions. It gives free information and practically liquidates censorship. Internet and other ICTs can be used in different ways, either for the lofty ideas and bad intentions. It depends on the people who use them. The role of the state is still promoting their use in positive ways and limiting their use in negative aspects. It should be very clear that the state should refrain from taking undue regulation specifically relating to the Internet, so that Internet can remain a free and unfettered media serving the free exchange of opinions. The online and offline principles and rights should remain the same. The privacy protection, the conditions for trust growth, the guarantees for freedom are the essential rules in our digital world. But these rules and those values require one general condition: security. In the past, the use of the software to block or obtain certain desired information required talent, audacity, and willingness to take risk. Now, it does not require much effort, preparation, or considerable funding. There are an estimated 150,000 computer viruses in circulation every day. Cybercrime causes a huge share of cybersecurity incidents. Symantec estimates that cybercrime victims worldwide lose around 290 billion euro each year. According to Norton Cybercrime Report from 2012, 18 adults per second become cybercrime victims. The 2012 Eurobarometer poll on cybersecurity shows that more than a third of Internet users across the EU say they have received emails fraudulently asking for money or personal details. But what about the critical information infrastructure protection in our countries and between them? What about the public registries and data security? It is important to focus on the most important things that we want to protect. There we have to channel our efforts. The weakest link through which most attacks are done is a man and his ignorance. So the key problem is changing the mentality. It is the parents and their informed decisions that will protect children, because only their decision to block certain sites with inappropriate content for children is not seen as a censorship. Freedom and privacy are fundamental values which we cannot give up, but we must not sacrifice safety. The relevant authorities are to ensure safety and prevent threats. This does not mean, however, that actions of services entail violation of civil rights, and that these institutions need to be deprived of all tools because they are associated with surveillance. However, these activities must be in accordance with clearly defined rules and subject to inspection. Policy on issues of cyberspace also relating to security must be created on the basis of a common multi-stakeholders dialogue. But to create a dialogue, people, institutions must trust each other and trust governments. Our conference is a good platform for exchange our views and experiences. But if we really understand these key words, privacy, trust, freedom, and security, we also should put at the table something additional: our willing to tackle the new problems of the Internet era and to create the fruitful network for global collaboration. We need the privacy protection, but we should try to find the best way by dissemination of the codes of conduct and companies' privacy policies, or considering the idea of global convention on that subject. We need the trust building in the digital society, and the best way is just do it. It also means opening the public data. We need the freedom guarantees for every user of the Internet, so we should be cautious about some ideas on governing the Internet and remember about multi-stakeholders formula of dialogue. We need the security, so we should hurry up our activities, take common responsibility, and find some general rules for common approval and using. Poland hopes that we, representatives of various countries and global institutions, will be able to respond to those challenges. It is time. Thank you very much for attention.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Michał Boni, Minister of Administration and Digitization of Poland. Next, due to some urgent engagements of the U.S. delegation, we're going to change the order of the speeches and watch a video message from His Excellency John Kerry, Secretary of State of the United States of America at this time. Please direct your attention to the screens.
Greetings, Madam President, and hello to everyone participating in the 2013 Seoul Cyber Conference. I want to thank the government of Korea for hosting this important event. As we celebrate the 60th year of a strong alliance and friendship between our two nations, I know that our ties will only grow in the years to come. All of you are part of the important effort underway to make cyberspace more accessible and secure for all. No one nation can carry this burden alone. I'm pleased that the Budapest Cybercrime Convention, the foundation for many of our cooperative efforts, continues to attract new partners from all over the world, including Japan and Australia. We also see greater participation in the G8's 24/7 network for high-tech crime cases, which, like the convention, is open to all nations. The fact is that all nations have a stake in creating strong global standards to guide state behavior in cyberspace. Recent agreements between the United States and Russia on cyber confidence building are one example of how new strategic thinking can create appropriate incentives for stability in cyberspace. The United States understands that success in cyberspace depends on far more than security alone. Expanded access is the cornerstone of all progress in cyberspace. And that is why we continue to strongly support initiatives that bring more of the world's citizens to the internet. As part of the Global Broadband Initiative, we recently announced the Broadband Partnership of the Americas to expand internet access in the Western Hemisphere. We also support the Alliance for Affordable Internet, a public-private partnership that helps provide entry-level broadband service in developing countries at less than 5% of average monthly incomes. The internet should be an open platform for expression. It should serve as an engine of economic growth that supports opportunity for all. I am confident that with our work together, we can convert goodwill into growing partnership. I wish you all a very successful and productive conference and a safe journey home.
Thank you for your attention, and thank you for your words, Your Excellency John Kerry, Secretary of State of the United States of America. The next speaker will be His Excellency Kamini Lakshman Paris, Minister of External Affairs of Sri Lanka. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, listening to the presentations that were made this morning, I think there's no doubt at all what the central theme of our discussions is. The central theme is that, on the one hand, there is an unprecedented opportunity. On the other hand, that opportunity is accompanied by a daunting challenge. The opportunity arises from the phenomenon of convergence. Digital progress, internet, broadband, all of this has converged in order to put at our disposal a very powerful tool to address the problems of humanity and to accelerate economic progress. On the other hand, as the Foreign Minister of the Republic of Korea pointed out, he used the word volatility. There's also some degree of risk, some degree of danger. This is the essential dilemma that we are called upon to face. I was also struck by the remark that was made by Her Excellency, the President of the Republic of Korea, that national priorities and aspirations are of the first importance. Each country has to determine for itself the trajectory for the future and how it proposes to use this enormous tool, this very powerful weapon, which today across the globe we have in our hands. I thought it might be of some interest to participants in this seminar to be informed of some of the developments taking place in my own country, Sri Lanka, which is emerging from the shadow of a conflict that lasted for 3 long decades. And the government of the people of Sri Lanka are now focused upon accelerating our economic development. And cyberspace is something that we are making use of in abundant measure to facilitate the accomplishment of that objective. In keeping with the ideology which has been very persuasively articulated by His Excellency President Mahinda Rajapaksa of Sri Lanka, our goal is to ensure not only that the economy develops, but that the benefits are shared equitably by all sections of the people, that there is percolation of the economic benefits down to the grassroots level. For this purpose, we have established a variety of mechanisms known as the nanosalas, which are basically internet cafes, something really more than that, in different parts of the country, concentrating in particular on the rural hinterland, to ensure that there is no deprivation of opportunity for people who live in the rural sector of Sri Lanka. This is necessary, we believe, to provide for access to opportunity. And these centers serve a variety of purposes. For example, farmers are able to obtain accurate information with regard to prevailing market prices in order to prevent exploitation by unconscionable middlemen. Students are able to access information with regard to the availability of courses which would have a direct bearing on their future careers. Lawyers in different parts of the country would be able to access up-to-date information relating to statutory provisions and decided cases that would enable them to practice their profession with greater efficiency. Patients in the rural interior will be able to access the leading medical practitioners and the hospitals in the country to ensure that they have the best opportunity to secure sound health. All of this has been made possible by this innovative development of opening up these centers in the rural hinterland of Sri Lanka. We have also utilized cyberspace to provide potential investors with information they require relating to productive investment into our country. What are the sectors in which investment is productive? In what regions of the country? What are the incentives that they require to bring them into the country? And how can we ensure that the optimal benefits are achieved by the people of our country in consequence of the investment that is made into Sri Lanka? We have also made use of cyberspace to ensure the efficiency of fiscal policies. We want to ensure that the Finance Commission, which is responsible for allocation of resources throughout the country, has before it accurate information relating to the priorities and requirements for the development of different parts of the country, and that the allocation of these resources is cost-effective and achieves maximal targets. Cyberspace has also been utilized by the government of Sri Lanka to ensure continuing assessment and evaluation of development-oriented programs. Are they working well? Are there deficiencies and shortcomings? And if so, what are the modalities that are available to us to correct those deficiencies midstream, while there is still the chance to ensure that there's improvement of these programs in order to make them as successful and as productive as possible. We have used cyberspace to carry forward ambitious programs with regard to BPO. This has to do with outsourcing. Sri Lanka is benefiting from this phenomenon. which means the leading airlines, the leading hospitals of the world are outsourcing some of their services, and Sri Lanka is one of the beneficiaries of this phenomenon. So all of this is on the positive side, the opportunities. Now with regard to the challenges and the risks that accompany this, I think this is very important. His Excellency Ban Ki-moon, the Secretary General of the United Nations, in his remarks that we listened to, spoke of the potential of cyberspace for good or evil. I think it is very necessary to bear that dimension in mind. And I think the challenges are basically threefold. One has to do with the whole range of issues connected with intellectual property. Today, we in Sri Lanka are very eager to ensure that our young people who are talented and resourceful are able to derive the maximum benefit from their own ingenuity and creativity. Unfortunately, unbridled use of cyberspace may present a challenge to the efforts of these young people, because we want to ensure that their inventions are not hijacked by unscrupulous persons who wish to make a profit from the work of others. There are also concerns with regard to privacy, and what we are confronting basically is a need for a balance between liberty and security. We do not want all these dramatic developments with regard to cyberspace to involve trespass upon the domain of individual rights. It is therefore necessary to devise mechanisms that ensure the protection of individual rights in the midst of all these developments that are taking place with regard to cyberspace. The third dimension, to my mind, has to do with the security of the state. We have to ensure that these developments do not go forward in a manner that places in jeopardy or peril the vital interests of the nation state. That is a very legitimate consideration. After all, it goes back to Roman times. Salus civitatis suprema lex, said the Romans. The safety of the state is the highest law. Of course, many changes have taken place through successive civilizations, but that concern remains legitimate at this time. So this again is a dimension to which we have to address ourselves in ensuring that policies that are formulated with regard to cyberspace are balanced and are intended to serve the cause of humanity. Sri Lanka, in confronting these challenges and trying to evolve a body of principles that cater for all these objectives, has relied upon an inclusive method of policy formulation. We want to involve consultative committees of parliament. We want to involve the universities and the professions in order to bring together the collective insights of all these sections of the Sri Lankan community and to ensure that they participate fully and productively in the formulation of a set of policies that will enable us to confront these challenges pragmatically in the interest of our people. I thank you for the opportunity of sharing these thoughts with you, and I wish your deliberations all success. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Kamini Lakshman Paris, Minister of External Affairs of Sri Lanka. The next speaker will be Secretary General of the International Telecommunication Union, or ITU, Mr. Hamadun Toure. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellency Choi Moon-ki, Minister of Science, ICT and Future Planning of Republic of Korea, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great pleasure and a tremendous honor to be with you here today for the first plenary session of the Seoul Conference on Cyberspace. I had the privilege to participating in the London Conference on Cyberspace 2 years ago, and this is an issue that only continues to grow in relevance. I congratulate the organizers for choosing the theme, Global Prosperity through an open and secure cyberspace, opportunities, threats, and cooperation. This is therefore a timely and important conference, particularly in a world where a never-increasing proportion of human activity now happens online, and particularly in a world where major recent events in the news reflect growing global concerns about safety and security in cyberspace. This is clearly a complex and multifaceted issue with many dimensions, including national security, upholding universally held values of freedom of expression and privacy, and the need for the equitable inclusiveness of stakeholders from all countries in policy and decision-making processes, including stakeholders from the developing world. Various bilateral and regional frameworks, such as the Budapest Convention, the first inclusive regional framework with very solid principles, as well as a number of global initiatives, including the ITU's Global Cybersecurity Agenda, the GCA, aim to address these issues, but we have yet to develop a comprehensive and inclusive international framework for cooperation. Such a framework can only be achieved by being truly inclusive, with the full participation of all stakeholders and not just governments, and with all countries participating on an equal footing. Such a framework would need to take into account 4 key elements: access to the internet, which includes universal access to information and knowledge, quality education for all, and respect for cultural and linguistic diversity. 2, the protection of fundamental rights, including privacy and freedom of expression, recognizing that security and privacy are not mutually exclusive goals. State involvement, taking into account existing provisions related to the respect of human rights, state territorial integrity and sovereignty, and last but not least, international cooperation, to ensure the engagement of both state and non-state actors in achieving global cyber resilience for all internet users, and particularly for children and young people. Ladies and gentlemen, securing cyberspace cannot be achieved by a few countries working bilaterally or regionally in isolation. It requires active participation and buy-in from all countries, and especially developing and least developed countries. Without this, we risk creating digital high seas ripe for exploitation by cyber pirates and cyber criminals, which would defeat the entire purpose of a global framework. Distinguished guests, following the World Summit on the Information Society, the WSIS, in 2003 and 2005, heads of states and governments of the world asked ITU to take the lead in facilitating international efforts to build confidence and security in the fields of ICTs. 2 key initiatives resulting from this within the GCA include ITU Impact, the world's first comprehensive alliance against cyber threats, which brings together governments, academia, and industry experts together to enhance the global community's capabilities. ITU Impact today offers services to 146 countries. And Child Online Protection, an international collaborative network for the online protection for children worldwide. We count many UN agencies as well as private sector and civil society entities as partners in COP. ITU's mandate also covers the discussion of various technical aspects of ensuring security in ICTs, including ITU-T Study Group 17, the lead study group on security-related standardization work within the ITU. I should also mention the WCIT discussions in Dubai, which included debate on how to balance the implementation of security provisions with commitment to human rights. As a result, in the preamble of the treaty, we find the affirmation of the member states' commitments to implement the treaty in a manner that respects and upholds their human rights obligations. We also find an article covering the security and robustness of ICT networks. ITU regularly collaborates with other UN agencies, including UNODC, UNICEF, and UNCTAD, as well as key intergovernmental bodies such as the World Bank and Interpol, and global cybersecurity-related associations such as the Forum for Incident Response Team, or FIRST, in order to facilitate a holistic approach to cyber-related issues and improve cross-border cooperation. Ladies and gentlemen, let me come back to the need for collaboration and re-emphasize how important it is for all of us to work together. This is not a task for one country, one organization. It is a task for all. As you will know, WSIS was the most wide-ranging, comprehensive, and inclusive debate ever held on the future of the information society. WSIS was facilitated by ITU under the guidance of the United Nations and with the full participation of the entire UN family. And for the first time, governments, the private sector, intergovernmental organizations, and civil society all work together, hand in hand, for the common good. What is different between now and then is the incredible growth of the internet over the past decade and the growing worldwide recognition of its importance as an enabler of global social and economic development. The incredible proliferation of easy-to-use devices, applications, and services, many of which didn't even exist back in 2003 and 2005. The world has changed beyond recognition in the space of a decade, and we need new frameworks to fit the evolving information society. ITU has been playing its role in bringing stakeholders from across the globe together, but it is clearly evident that no single entity can achieve this task alone. All stakeholders need to work together. Distinguished guests, in conclusion, let me reiterate the need for collaborative hard work, not only to make the internet safer for everyone, but also to make sure we can all trust the online world and feel confident in cyberspace, and that the next front line should not be online. Without this, we will never be able to enjoy the extraordinary benefits awaiting humanity when everyone has access to the vast benefits offered by the internet. And here, let me give you ITU's full commitment to doing whatever we are asked to do by our membership within our mandate. We are committed to collaborating and to working together, because only together we can achieve our common goal. I thank you.
Thank you for your words, Secretary General of ITU, Mr. Hamadoun Touré. The next speaker will be His Excellency Nils Daniel Carl Bildt, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sweden. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's truly a pleasure to be able to come here to Seoul, coming from the land of Ericsson, the world leader in mobile connectivity, to the land of Samsung, among the leaders of mobile devices. Our two countries, distant in geography, are intensely connected in the new cyber world. I was among those attending the first cyber conference in London 2 years ago. And that was indeed a long time ago. Hundreds and hundreds of millions of people have been plugging themselves into the net since then. Mobile technologies have become much more abundant during these 2 years and much more capable. And we all know that we are only in the beginning of what is a truly revolutionary development. Today, we have roughly 3 billion people around the world connected to the net. In some years, that is expected to be roughly 5 billion. But I would argue that even more impressive is the explosion in mobile internet. And here we see developing nations leapfrogging generations in the so-called developed world. Africa is developing faster than any other continent. New technologies are opening up truly revolutionary new opportunities. In just 5 short years, it is estimated that roughly 60% of the world will be covered by so-called LTE 4G networks, with a connectivity well above what we have in most of Europe today. There is for certain still a digital divide. But that digital divide, I would argue, is going to be far more in terms of generations than in terms of geography. A decade from now, I'm convinced that the vast, overwhelming majority of the teenagers of Indonesia, of Sweden, of Nigeria, of Brazil, they will all be connected by their smart devices to a global mobile network far more capable than anything available to any one of us today. And the importance of this is, of course, vast. The World Bank has calculated that a 10% increase in broadband coverage in a nation is a 1% increase in economic growth potential. And if that is the case, then this is the most powerful tool for economic development available to us in these modern times. We see it day by day across the world. My own country, Sweden, claims to be, we are, I think, one of the leaders. It is said that sort of roughly 8% of our economy is part of the internet economy. That's one limited way of seeing it. I would argue that there is no part of our economy that would not move forward without the support of the internet these days. We are becoming net-based economies, net-based societies, and we have faced an even more net-based future. But since London, since Budapest, we've also seen new challenges emerge. The freedom on and the freedom off the net is even more under attack. Regimes afraid of change. Regimes afraid of the free flow of information and ideas, trying to build their great walls to protect their great powers. The recent report by Freedom House on the freedom of the net was blunt. I quote, "Internet freedom deteriorates worldwide, but activists push back," end of quote. Last year we managed, with a broad coalition of countries, to get the UN Human Rights Commission to adopt the landmark resolution 20/8. And basically it states that the universal rights that are protected by the UN Universal Declaration of Human Rights, they should be protected online in exactly the same way as they are protected offline. And that is truly important for us all. There are, of course, some limitations in all of our societies, even in my own. We do represent different cultures and different traditions. But limitations must always be based on the law, decided according to the law, and subject to challenge under law. That's truly fundamental. Since London, as the dependence of our societies and economies on the net has grown, we have been more aware of the vulnerabilities of the security. And indeed, the security of the flows of ideas and information on the net is even more important now to our societies and economies than the air transport system or the maritime flow of goods across these oceans. The net is a mirror of our societies in good and bad. There are pirates there. There are terrorists there, there are criminals there, there are spies there, and there are states sponsoring all or some of these activities all the time. We have a common duty to protect us, to fight these evils, but to do it without endangering the values of freedom and open societies that are so fundamental to us. Security and freedom, freedom and security, the two should go hand in hand in our nations, in our world, offline and online. Recently, of course, we've also found ourselves in an important debate about surveillance and privacy. It's not a new debate for a number of us. In Sweden, for example, we have laws extensively debated by Parliament that regulates both what we can do with what we call metadata from telephone for the law enforcement needs and what our foreign intelligence operation can do, important for our security. And I do believe that the laws that we have are according to the highest standards. Some countries have it somewhat different. Some countries operate vast surveillance systems without any laws of oversight whatsoever. Some are now in intense debates on how to handle these issues. And aggressive intelligence operations on the net is certainly not a rare occurrence. As a matter of fact, we see them every day, every hour, every minute, every second. I think we all do. And to this should, of course, be added the fact that we now see different nations preparing for what they call offensive operations on the net. Cyber war has become a new term in the global debate. If you add all of this together, I think it is high time that we have a global dialogue on the global norms of behavior on the net. And this global dialogue must also touch upon the basic issues of the governance of the net. The present multi-stakeholder approach has served the world extremely well. It brings together, as we know, technology innovators, government regulators, business representatives, civil society actors in a web of governance that has proved to be both effective, dynamic, and responsive. And it is, as Secretary Haig said, very difficult to see that the rapid development of the Internet to the good of mankind would have been possible had there been an exclusively state-centered governance structure. So that is something that the essence of which we should seek to preserve. But at the same time, recognizing that the legitimacy of this web of governance has been questioned and challenged, a broad debate also on that is thus called for. There are, of course, lots of norms in international affairs and in our societies that are already set down. I'll mention the Declaration of Human Rights, the UN Charter, the laws governing warfare, the principle of privacy. They should not be changed, but it's a question of their concrete application to the new world of hyperconnectivity that needs to be clarified, and we should discuss the ways in which that can be done. In these debates, in these days, as I noted, a lot of the debate is concerning the right for states to conduct surveillance, primarily for reasons of security. And also here, I do believe that we should have an open debate about the rules of behavior that should apply. And let me propose 7 principles that I think are important. First, the principle of legality. Surveillance should be based on the laws, and the laws should be adopted in a transparent manner through a democratic process. And the implementation of the laws should be reviewed periodically to ensure that expansion of surveillance capabilities due to, for instance, technological advances are properly debated. Second, the aims should be legitimate. Surveillance must be conducted on the basis of legitimate and well-defined aims. The measures may never be carried out in a discriminatory or discretionary manner and only by specified state authorities. Third, necessity and adequacy. The laws should justify that surveillance is necessary and adequate to achieve legitimate aims. Fourth, proportionality. A sound proportionality judgment must always be made to carefully assess that the benefits of surveillance outweigh what might be the negative consequences. Fifth, judicial authority. Decisions on the use of communication surveillance should be taken by competent authority. And as a general rule, an independent court should take such decisions. Sixth, transparency. States should be as transparent as possible about how they carry out this surveillance. They should provide information on how the surveillance legislation works in practice. And seventh, of course, public oversight through parliamentary or other truly credible bodies. Our obligation as government is to provide security and to respect human rights, neither the one nor the other, but the two of them combined. And thus we need a global dialogue on the rules of behavior on the net in all of these particular instances that I mentioned, but perhaps in some societies somewhat more on these surveillance issues that have been at the forefront of the debate lately. In London 2 years ago, I said that internet is the new front line in the fight for freedom in the world. And I truly believe that to be the case. It is one of the most powerful tools for development that we've seen in modern times. It is a truly revolutionary thing for humans to achieve more in all of our societies. And it is truly a front line in the fight for freedom across the world. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Your Excellency Nils Daniel Carl Bildt, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Sweden. Since we're behind schedule, once again, we cordially ask the speakers to keep their speeches to 7 to 8 minutes. Thank you. The next speaker will be Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel, Mr. Ziv Elkin. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Distinguished ministers, honored delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Cybercrime, cyberterrorism, and cyber warfare are some of the greatest global challenges we face today. The cyber threat does not recognize state borders or geographic lines. The only way to meet this challenge and create effective cyber defense is through intensive international cooperation. I welcome the opportunity of this conference, the third since London 2011, to present some of our hard-won Israeli expertise to you, our partners in the international arenas of government, business, and civil society. Together, we can strengthen our collective capabilities and achieve an open and secure cyberspace. Israel is a global power in the realm of cyber defense. Our expertise in the is a hard-won result of the geopolitical reality. Terror organizations, activists, and criminals are repeatedly attempting to damage our economy, institutions, and infrastructure. However, we have succeeded in turning this weakness into a source of strength. We have met this real-time threat with groundbreaking homegrown technologies, and thus far our defenses have proven to be effective. Indeed, due to constant threats, Israel uniquely serves the global community as a live lab for the new technologies. Israel is happy to share its knowledge and expertise with other countries looking to improve their cybersecurity technology. We have turned the threat of cyber attacks into opportunity for knowledge and growth. The Israeli model of cyber defense strategy relies on accumulated experience combined with a unique vision. The government of Israel was among the first to identify a strategic threat emanating from cyber attacks against critical infrastructure. Tehillah, our eGov institution, was created in 1997 to meet the cyber threat, followed by the establishment of the National Information Security Authority in 2002, which is responsible for preventing cyber attacks against critical infrastructure. In addition, Prime Minister Netanyahu directed the establishment of the Israel National Cyber Bureau, INCB, which has been in operation since January 2012 and takes the lead with regard to creating a national cyber defense policy, partnership with the private sector, and linking domestic and international cyber defense players. Examples of INCB projects include the establishment of a national cyber situation room, which is tasked with forming the cyber defense matrix, as well as sharing information between the defense community, the public sector, and private sector. A special program was also established to prioritize the cyber defense industry in cooperation with the Ministry of Economy, which will invest more than $20 million in R&D in this field. Perhaps our greatest asset, though, is our human capital. Due to security threat, we have a record number of young people who enter the fields of technology and cyber defense every year at the young age of 18 within the framework of their military service. They are young, dynamic, and creative. In the field of cyber defense, the threat matrix is changing constantly, and one must be incredibly flexible and creative. These young people, like speed chess players, have proved time and time again their ability to meet complex challenges in real time. Chess players and other strategic thinkers are a critical part of any technological field. However, the Israel expertise in a speed chess mentality is a unique advantage in the field of cyber. Upon graduating from the military, many of these young minds join our flourishing high-tech sector, enriching the technology field, and helping to establish startups which attract the interest of multinationals such as GA, IBM, Deutsche Telekom, and Citibank, as well as investors from China, Russia, and many other countries. In addition, I am proud to announce that several months ago, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu designated the southern metropolitan area of Beersheba as an international cyber center. All of our governmental and military institutions which address the cyber threat will be transferred to the city of Beersheba, where they've been linked to the thriving academic facilities of Ben Gurion University. It's a newly constructed industrial park serving a flourishing high-tech industry. We firmly believe this philosophy of combining academic, government, and business know-how is a key to establishing effective cyber defense. I invite you to come to Beersheba to experience, to invest, and to take part in the creation of one of the world's most advanced cyber defense hubs. Distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, we firmly believe international cooperation is a critical factor in the realm of cyber defense. Israel was a member of UN government group of experts during the 1990s and supported all of the major international initiatives in the cyber defense. Israel also acceded to the Budapest Cybercrime Convention this year. We will continue to support other cooperation mechanisms that contributed to harmonizing cyber defense tools. In conclusion, we believe cyber is not just a threat, but rather an opportunity to creative thought and economic growth. As our reliance on the internet and the virtual realm increases, the need for cyber defense will only grow. We foresee that cyber defense will become an increasingly lucrative industry with enormous potential for global business partnership and development. Israel looks forward to sharing its experience with other countries bilaterally. Together, we can work to repel attacks more quickly and efficiently, to devise effective national strategies, and most importantly, to integrate government, business, academic, and civil society to meet the global cyber challenge of the 21st century. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, First Vice Minister of Foreign Affairs of Israel, Mr. Ziv Elkin. The next speaker will be His Excellency Yanis Sarts, State Secretary of Defense of Latvia. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, Excellencies. Yesterday, I had a ride on a Seoul subway, and there is a row of 7 seats. And I saw there were 5 people in these 7 seats at this point in time in Seoul subway using cyberspace through their smartphones. One of them was playing a game, the other was watching TV, 2 were communicating with their friends, one supposedly was trying to fix one of his bills. I think in a nutshell, that is a picture of what cyberspace is all about today. That, in a nutshell, is about the possibilities cyberspace offers for each of us individually. Never before an individual, wherever and whenever, could have had such an access to the bank of knowledge, information, and services. Never before individuals could have contributed directly to this bank of knowledge. Never before individual could have transcended all the boundaries and become part of the global innovation, be it in business, be it in culture, be it in science. These all are the benefits that we reap from the cyberspace right now. Cyberspace has proven to be one of the strengthening factors for our civil societies, not only in the societies that are in a turmoil, as we've seen in events in some parts of the world, but only in more mature societies. For instance, in Latvia, we have a special portal where any citizen, which is called My Voice, any citizen can submit a proposal for legal initiative. And if he gets 10,000 authenticated signatures of other citizens, Parliament is obliged to look and take up this legal initiative. And within a year's time, we've had 6 laws proposed through that mechanism, and 2 of them actually being approved. So there are a variety of mechanisms how cyberspace can contribute not only individually, but also to our collective societies. But of course, all that also means there are temptations to use this with a different purpose. Criminal groups, terrorist groups are tempted to use this space for their own benefit. This is also becoming a space for conflict between interest groups and sometimes governments. We have to acknowledge that. Some people have called this time a golden age of cybercrime, because of course cybercrime is taking an advantage of the low level of education and awareness of individual users, of players in the cyberspace, and even of the governments. They're using the boundaryless nature of the internet, while we in the government are stuck within the borders that we've been using for such a long time. And they are using that to their advantage. I think by now we should recognize that online security is a public good that we all have to contribute. Because I think without the healthy cyberspace, all the benefits that we might see from it might dwindle away. And as Minister Bildt cited the World Bank's figures, with the connectivity and economic growth, if we don't have the healthy cyberspace, it all goes to nothing. So we have to give the response to these challenges. The response has to be both coordinated and comprehensive. There's no single player, either that's the government, business, or individual in the cyberspace, that can provide the answer. It's only through the collective measures that we can do so. If we look in the future, I think we have to base our work on three main cornerstones for continued cyberspace success. These cornerstones are freedom, privacy, and security. I think whenever we discuss cyberspace, we have to recognize that this has been the success of cyberspace. All the benefits that we are using have been due to the unprecedented individual freedoms that people have enjoyed within the space. And this spirit of innovative approach has flourished there. If we try to go into the restrictive mood, we will kill that spirit. And it will not only kill that spirit and the potential of cyberspace, it will thus kill also a lot of future potential for our countries. Second, privacy. Minister Bild alluded already to the debate on the privacy. And I can say that we should work for that any law-abiding citizen that is in the cyberspace have to feel private. And I think very much the way we apply privacy and public surveillance in the offline world, where police has a right to intervene when somebody breaks the law, I think very much the same principle how to work in the cyberspace. But it should not only be the response of individual governments. It has to be a cooperative effort. And last, security. Security is the other element of foundation, because it's not only about the security of individual, it's about security of the services that are relying on cyberspace, that are getting bigger and bigger, and especially the governments that are embracing the e-governance, e-service. I think it is more and more important to ensure the security of the services and solutions that we are providing within a cyberspace. So going back to our 5 people on a Seoul subway using cyberspace, what we should provide for them is freedom to express themselves, freedom to use internet in the future, privacy to those that are abiding the law, and security for all the services that they are using on internet, as well as security for the services like Seoul subway itself that is using cyber to ensure the service is running. With that, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your words, Your Excellency Jānis Sārs, State Secretary of Defense of Latvia. The next speaker will be Deputy Secretary General of the European External Action Service, or EEAS, of the European Union, Mr. Maciej Popowski. Please welcome him with a big round of applause.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, let me start by stating the obvious. Technology helps us achieve a better future. It provides access to education, promotes freedom of speech, it connects people worldwide, and enables essential services. It works as a crucial catalyst for achieving of the Millennium Development Goals. Technology is also a global equalizer because cyberspace empowers people. In spring of 2011, it helped people in North Africa stand up for their rights. Our reliance on cyberspace will only grow in time. We were reminded by Minister Bill that by 2020 we will have around 5 billion internet users. To fulfill the vision of a better future for billions, we need a cyberspace that is open, undivided, unfragmented, and not controlled by any single entity. Today, more than ever before, we also need trust, reliability, and increased capacity in this man-made domain. Let me stress 3 elements today. First, cyberspace will provide us with a platform to achieve development goals. Access to information is easier in the cyber area than ever before. Nevertheless, this access is not always granted in all parts of the world. In the European Union's recently launched cyber strategy, an open, safe, and secure cyberspace, the European Union voiced its commitments to promote cyberspace as an area of freedom and fundamental rights. We will work towards the goal of everyone being able to have access to the internet. We believe that increased global connectivity will advance democratic reforms worldwide. We work hard to promote freedom of expression online as a fundamental responsibility for all international actors. Cyberspace will help us reach development goals, but only if private sector innovation and civil society enthusiasm are preserved. We should build trust and confidence between all actors in cyberspace, companies, governments, and civil society, to be able to fully exploit the benefits of technology. We therefore need continued collaboration between all these stakeholders, as well as a transparent and accountable model for undivided internet. The second major message is that of trust and responsibility, because trust and responsibility are as important in the era of technology as ever before. Responsibility for a peaceful and secure cyberspace lies with all participants in the global information society, not only the governments. The EU supports the efforts to define norms of behavior in cyberspace that all stakeholders should adhere to. Citizens and states need to abide by norms and existing laws. Technology can be used for different purposes, as we know, also for harmful ones. The EU supports the development of norms of state behavior that aim to achieve more trust in international cyber relations. We also should mainstream cyber issues into diplomatic dialogues and to apply existing international law instruments in cyberspace. The argument of cybersecurity must not become a pretext to limit freedom of expression and access to information. That brings me to my third point. Trust and confidence in technology depends on knowledge and capacity. Not all the countries in the world have an equal technical capability, preparedness, and legal frameworks to address cyber threats. Many policymakers are looking for models for how to structure capacity building efforts, what methods to use, and how to measure their efficiency. The EU intends to engage with international partners and organizations, the private sector and civil society, to find the right model to support capacity building. Capacity building means constructing safer and more reliable communication networks worldwide. The aim should be to include resilience already in the package when extending communication networks into new markets. Reliable and secure global cyber infrastructure requires also private sector leadership and corporate social responsibility. Cyber resilience in one nation will depend on preparedness, awareness, and cooperation in many players in all nations. All nations should develop a national model where private and public sector will work together. Law enforcement agencies will link up with the incident response community, policymakers and technical community will elaborate common goals. The key issue for everyone is investment into training and education. A better future depends on a broad base of e-skills of the public, on computer security knowledge in companies, on special training of IT professionals. Equally important is to have a proper legal framework in place. An essential part of any national cyber effort is updated legislation to address cybercrime. That includes measures to criminalize offenses related to computer crime and to harmonize minimum penalties with general international practice. The Budapest Convention on Cybercrimes, quoted several times today, provides an excellent model that includes all necessary safeguards and conditions for successful cybercrime investigation. The EU is already engaged in global capacity building that focuses on enhancing criminal justice and incident response. Together with the Council of Europe, we have just started a new global project to build judicial and law enforcement capacity. In the next 5 years, we'll increase considerably our financing on capacity building. Looking into our future plans, in future capacity building, we need a better coordination of efforts as well as a sufficient overview on existing initiatives. In order to take global capacity building efforts forward, the EU will intend to step up its activities by taking stock of different existing initiatives and bringing relevant communities together. We intend to bring together donors and recipients, development assistance and cyber communities, the public and private sectors, the technologically advanced and less advanced countries. To be successful in our efforts, we need your advice and on priorities. We would like to hear your ideas how to leverage the global collective experience for an efficient model for cybersecurity capacity building efforts. And I hope to see you at the next Global Cyberspace Conference. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your words, Deputy Secretary General of the EEAS of the EU, Mr. Maciej Popowski. The last speaker of the session will be Under Secretary General of UNDESA, Mr. Woo Hong-bo. Please welcome him with a warm round of applause.
Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, being a last speaker, the job is much easier because a lot of ground has been covered by the previous speakers. Today, we have a diversity of participants here, including many developing country representatives and civil society groups. When discussing cyberspace issues with the government delegations, it is important to engage a wide range of stakeholders from private sector, the internet community, and civil society. This is also true for the 8th Internet Governance Forum, which will take place next week in Bali, Indonesia. The theme of this conference is very timely. Though cyberspace introduces quite a lot of new threats that we must address together as a global community, my vision of its potential for sustainable development is optimistic. Information and communication technologies are already making a major impact on developed efforts and the progress towards the Millennium Development Goals. The global community is working towards a global development agenda for the post-2015 period with the sustainable development at its center. ICTs will no doubt play a central enabling role in achieving this sustainable path. Digital connectivity is one of the most potent drivers of social, economic, and environmental changes. By 2020, the Internet will connect an estimated 5 billion people. Such rapidly increasing connectivity is empowering people worldwide. It contributes to accelerated economic growth, particularly in developing countries and emerging economies. Many governments, including the Republic of Korea, are adapting the way they do business by using the latest innovations in digital connectivity. For example, nearly 1 in 4 member states are proactively sharing open governmental data through their national portals. This is a result of an increasing awareness that the greater transparency and the participation will lead to a more effective, efficient, and equitable management of scarce public resources. The report of Secretary General's high-level panel of eminent persons on the post-2015 development agenda called for a data revolution. Part of our vision for cyberspace is to have more member states sharing and benefiting from open data. Our vision also includes cyberspace community that is free of criminal activity and malicious attacks, a community where fundamental safeguards are in place to protect each individual's rights. An open and secure cyberspace requires international cooperation and collaboration. Issues such as cyber attacks, breaches of privacy, and unauthorized access to and use of data have become all too common. They need to be addressed decisively and collaboratively. A good example is the United Nations Committee of Experts on Global Geospatial Information Management, UNGGIM, which brings together geospatial experts from around the world to advance the development and the use of geospatial data, information, and the tools to support global sustainability. Excellencies, ICTs can help to empower the most vulnerable populations, including those living in remote areas and small island developing states. The third International Conference on Small Island Developing States will be held next year, and it will focus the world attention on a group of countries with unique and particular vulnerabilities. We can bring unique insights on how to assist these countries to prosper through the use of cyberspace and ICTs to overcome the future hurdles. Ladies and gentlemen, as many of you know, each year the Secretary General of the United Nations convenes the Internet Governance Forum. This is an egalitarian, multi-stakeholder platform for deliberating public policy issues on Internet governance and potential of the Internet. I'm also honored that the Secretary General has delegated this task to the Department of Economic and Social Affairs. This year, the meeting is being held in Bali, Indonesia, from 22nd to 25th October. The theme is building bridges, enhancing multi-stakeholder cooperation for growth and sustainable development. We do hope that we see many of you over there. And many of the issues we are going to focus over the next 2 days here will also be on the agenda of IGF over there. So I'm certain that IGF will benefit from your insightful deliberations. Let us take this opportunity over the next 2 days to exchange views and experiences, strengthen our partnerships, and build momentum to leverage the benefits of a cyberspace for sustainable development. The possibilities are endless. However, cooperation among all stakeholders is necessary to enhance, to enable such a connectivity. This task will make us work over the next 2 days very crucial. Finally, I wish the conference a complete success. Thank you.
Thank you for your words, Undersecretary General of UNDESA, Mr. Woo Hong-bo. Ladies and gentlemen, please give our keynote speakers another warm round of applause. Thank you very much. That concludes session 1, and luncheon is now ready to be served at conference rooms South 307 and 308. From now until 13:30, you can enjoy your lunch, and our staff will assist you with directions. In addition, the ICT exhibition is being held at Hall D2. Many of our cybersecurity and IT companies are participating in this exhibition, and you can experience the state-of-the-art ICT hardware and software as you enjoy your tour. After lunch, please return to your seats by 13:25. By 13:25, as session 2 begins at 13:30. Thank you very much.